Welcome to AI True Crime Special Series Mysteries on the Menu, where we dive deep into the dark and often hidden corners of the culinary world. I am your host, AI. In this episode, we unravel the rise and fall of Mario Batali, a man who once stood at the pinnacle of the gastronomic world, only to see his empire crumble under the weight of scandal and criminal allegations. This is the story of a chef whose appetites extended far beyond the kitchen, leading to accusations that would shock the world and leave an indelible mark on the restaurant industry. Mario Batali was a towering figure in the culinary world, known not only for his skills in the kitchen but for his larger-than-life personality. Born in Seattle in 1960, Batali honed his craft in Italy, where he immersed himself in the traditional methods of Italian cooking. By the time he returned to the United States, he was well on his way to becoming one of the most influential chefs of his generation. Batali's career skyrocketed in the 1990s and early 2000s. His distinctive look, with his signature orange crocs, flame-red hair, and ubiquitous ponytail, made him a recognizable figure on television screens across the country. He co-owned several of New York City's most celebrated restaurants, including Babbo, a Michelin-starred establishment that became a destination for food lovers from around the globe. As Batali's fame grew, so did his business empire. He was a co-founder of Italy, the Italian marketplace that combined restaurants, cafes, and a retail component, offering an immersive experience in Italian cuisine. His influence extended into the world of television, where he became a household name through his appearances on cooking shows and as a co-host of the daytime talk show The Chew. Mario Batali was not just a chef, he was a brand, and that brand was synonymous with excellence in Italian cuisine. However, behind the scenes, there were whispers of another side to Mario Batali, a side that was far less savory. For years, rumors circulated about Batali's behavior, particularly towards women. There were stories of inappropriate comments, unwanted advances, and a general sense that Batali believed himself to be untouchable, insulated from consequences by his fame and success. These rumors, however, remained largely unreported, overshadowed by Batali's professional achievements and his larger-than-life persona. Everything changed in December 2017. In the midst of the #MeToo movement, which had already seen the downfall of numerous powerful men in entertainment, politics, and beyond, a bombshell report was published by Eater. The article detailed allegations from multiple women who accused Batali of sexual misconduct. According to these women, Batali's behavior ranged from inappropriate comments to unwanted groping and forcible kissing. The incidents described in the article spanned nearly 2 decades, painting a picture of a man who had allegedly used his power and influence to exploit and intimidate those around him. The allegations were shocking, not just because of their nature, but because they seemed to confirm the rumors that had long swirled around Batali. The women who came forward described a pattern of behavior that was both predatory and systematic. Batali, they said, would often target young female employees or women who were in a vulnerable position, whether they were guests at his restaurants, fellow chefs, or even fans. The alleged incidents often took place in professional settings, such as his restaurants, where Batali was in a position of power. In one particularly disturbing account, a woman described how Batali had invited her to his private kitchen after hours, only to forcibly kiss her and grope her against her will. In the face of these damning accusations, Mario Batali issued a public apology. In a statement, he acknowledged that much of the behavior described does, in fact, match up with ways I have acted. He expressed regret for his actions, though his apology was criticized by some for appearing insincere, especially since it was accompanied by a bizarre attempt at humor, a recipe for cinnamon rolls. The fallout from the allegations was swift and severe. Batali stepped down from day-to-day operations at his restaurants and from his role on The Chew, a show that would soon be cancelled in the wake of the scandal. But the consequences for Batali did not end there. His business partners in the Batali and Bastianich hospitality group, including longtime collaborator Joe Bastianich, announced that they were severing ties with him. Batali's name was removed from the company, and he was bought out of his stake in the business. Products bearing his name, from pasta sauces to cookbooks, were pulled from shelves. Television networks removed his shows from their lineups, and Batali's once thriving media empire crumbled almost overnight. As the allegations continued to reverberate through the culinary world, law enforcement took notice. In 2018, the New York Police Department launched an investigation into Batali, though no charges were immediately filed. However, in 2019, a more concrete legal challenge emerged. Batali was charged with indecent assault and battery in Boston, Massachusetts, stemming from an alleged incident in 2017. The accuser, a woman who had encountered Batali at a Boston restaurant, claimed that he had forcibly kissed her and groped her without consent. The case gained widespread media attention, as Batali became one of the most high-profile figures in the culinary world to face criminal charges in the wake of the #MeToo movement. In May 2022, the trial began in Boston. Batali, in a surprising move, waived his right to a jury trial, opting instead for a bench trial, where the judge alone would determine his guilt or innocence. The trial was brief but intense, with both sides presenting their cases over just a few days. The prosecution argued that Batali had abused his power and fame, taking advantage of a fan who had merely wanted a photograph with a celebrity chef. The defense, on the other hand, sought to undermine the credibility of the accuser, pointing to inconsistencies in her testimony and suggesting that she had a financial motive to lie. In the end, the judge found in favor of Batali, acquitting him of all charges. The verdict was a disappointment to those who had hoped for a different outcome, but it was clear that the case had hinged on the accuser's credibility, which the judge found lacking. Despite his acquittal, the damage to Batali's career and reputation was already done. He had become a pariah in the culinary world, with few willing to defend him publicly. His restaurants had either closed or been rebranded without his name, and his once ubiquitous presence on television had vanished. The case of Mario Batali serves as a stark reminder of the pervasive issues of power and abuse within the restaurant industry. His downfall was not just about one man's misdeeds, but about a culture that had long enabled and excused such behavior. The allegations against Batali helped to shine a light on the broader problems of harassment and exploitation in kitchens across the country, leading to a reckoning that was long overdue. For Mario Batali, the consequences of his actions were severe, but for the victims and survivors who spoke out, his fall from grace was a step toward justice and accountability in an industry that had too often turned a blind eye to its darkest secrets. This episode of Mysteries on the Menu is a chilling reminder that even in the world of fine dining, where the focus is on creating exquisite experiences, there can be a dark undercurrent of power, abuse, and betrayal. Mario Batali's story is a cautionary tale, one that reminds us that no one is above the law, no matter how celebrated or powerful they may be. The once celebrated chef, who commanded kitchens with precision and creativity, now finds himself remembered more for his alleged crimes than for his culinary achievements, a tragic ending to what could have been a legendary career.